Welcome to our work zone safety, I forget what we're calling this session, what's the dangers, new dangers, or how to keep yourself alive, whatever. We have, I hope, an interesting couple hours with you. My name's Don Ellisberg. I'm a consultant with NAPA, and I'll introduce the rest of the cast shortly. We will get past the talking heads in a few minutes and get down to the substance of what we want to do in presenting to you our latest and greatest version of the Work Zone Safety and Health Training Program, or at least pieces of it. We have a group that has put this product together that we just want to introduce and let you know that it's a labor management government consortium which consists of the Labor's International Union and their Health and Safety Training Joint Funds, the International Union of Operating Engineers, the American Association of State Highway Officials, the American Road and Transportation Builders Association, the National Asphalt Pavement Association, the Texas Transportation Institute, the CNA Insurance Company, and of course NIOSH, and OSHA as another piece of the partnership. Today we're going to do pieces of what we have, and I'll explain that to you. And our presenters today are going to be Scott Schneider of the laborers, Emmett Russell of the operating engineers, Brad Sant and Omar Lopez of the road builders, Rod Wolford and Beth Larson of the FOF Productions, and myself, also Don Ellisberg. As we go through this next couple of hours, we're going to have probably you'll have questions as we go along. We'll try to remember to ask if you have questions, but as we get into these modules and begin to go through the process, anyone that really has a question, raise your hand, throw something at us. It won't get us out of sync. If you need to ask the question, we'll be more than happy. We just ask that when you do have a question, if you can remember to come to one of the microphones, because this session is being recorded, and we'd like to preserve not just our answers, but your questions for posterity. So let me begin with a brief review of what we're talking about here. We've got this road safety program. Obviously, we're trying to introduce you. Let me ask you this: how many of you have seen this program before or used it at all? Okay, bear with us. This is a great training program, and we're going to sort of take you through this process. It's all on CD or downloadable. The thing that will remind you constantly is it's all free. You don't have to pay for any of what you're getting, and that's another piece that's very important to the process. Now, the program itself is what we call interactive. That is, you can make things bullet points come and go. We have demonstrations that are visual, video, so forth, all embedded in the process. Or you can run it as a straight slideshow. But what we have are, this thing consists of 21 modules that are on a single CD. It's also available as a free download. I recommend if you download from the Clearinghouse or one of the sites of one of these, one of the sponsors, who will all send you back to the Clearinghouse to download it. Have a very high-speed operation and a lot of time. You're much better just taking the CD with you, asking for more, because we'll send out as many as you need, basically, for your process. We're going to show you what these things are. There are trainee booklets in I guess, English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Portuguese that take you through the whole course. We've got on the CD a instructor's guide, which is about 100 pages, probably will be more by the time we're finished revising it, that will take you as an instructor step by step with case studies, notes, and what you need to have. Each of the modules has a set of what we call toolbox pamphlets, which replicate what's on the slideshow, but are handouts so that you could teach it from a work crew, or you could teach it module by module if you want to teach one every day, or however one wants to do it. It's very versatile. And we also have, which I don't have with us, a laminated presentation. It says 14 by 20 flip book, which has each of these slides in a laminated form that you can use, what we say is the back of a pickup truck for a small crew. And each of the slides on the front side is English. You flip it over, it's in Spanish, and a lot of stuff like that. We also, as we say, except for the laminated flip book, which you can request from the sponsors, who we talked about, everything else is all on the CD, and we'll eventually show you how to print it if you want, and how you work all this. Now, you know, what's the content? If you look at this slide, you will see that we have 15 what we would call basic awareness topics, ranging from driving to runovers and backovers. And let me tell you how we came to those 15. Those 15 are a consensus of all these participants over a number of years, and we have pilot tested this beyond anybody's wildest dreams, of what is it that is the danger on the job. What are the hazards? What is it that is injuring and killing workers on these work zone sites? And I dare say you are not going to find much in here where you may have experienced something that isn't covered by one of these modules. It has been vetted, tested, so forth and so on. We'll point out, and we're going to do several of these modules today. We can't do the whole thing because we don't have, I don't know, 27 hours now. This was designed originally as a short awareness course. Like most things, you can still teach it as an awareness course, but it also is useful for anyone else. Train the trainer, train the workers, train the supervisors, train the bosses. We have it all. And we also, in addition, have some what I'll call more advanced topics, disaster response, typical applications, runovers and backovers, a lot of new stuff on night work, because night work's become a very important issue. And the modules are based on real-world scenarios. And you'll see as we go through, these are the real things that happen. Next. And we also want to point out that it's multilingual. It's in English, Spanish, Portuguese, and when you go through the show itself, if you click on the thing that says voice, it'll talk to you. If you just don't want to do anything but push the buttons, it will recite what's on there. It will recite it in English. You click up and it'll recite it in Spanish. You click it, it'll recite it in Portuguese, and then you can flip back and forth. Very versatile in that regard. You can see the list of demonstrations, and we'll be going through a number of them. And we also have something called the compliance mode, where you click it on and you can do it either state by state or for all. And as you pass over different pieces of this program, it will bring up what is the OSHA regulation or the MUTCD or the state regulation on that subject. And we also have, obviously, some demos of access, egress. How do you set up a work zone traffic plan? We have some information as just what people need to know when they get walking on a site where they've never been before. We did a whole program here recently for the OSHA compliance officers if they're going to go out in a zone, here are the things you need to know about that. So I think that's probably the head of it. I think I'm going to, at this stage, turn it over to Rod Wolford, who kind of take you through just how do you set up a few of the initial things, like the options, but not actually do them, just show them to you, and then he's going to talk about the quizzes. And then he will lead that into our first substantive presenter, who's going to be Emmett Russell. Right?
Yes. Well, I'm not going to take very much time here at all. I'm just going to basically switch the modes because we don't have a lot of time to go over how the program actually operates internally. But let's just get out of this. And we're already setting here in the program. And when you open up the CD, this would be the first screen that you would see. There you see a set of tabs across the top, which includes setting the module order, downloading, setup screens, compliance, quiz, and so on and so forth. You have the option of setting any of these at any time to build a program for yourself. Okay, need to get a little closer to the microphone. Beyond that, I'm not going to show you much beyond you have a module order. You can drag and drop these modules in any order you want. You can save them, you can load them, so you can create your own specialized presentations however you want them to look. It has the ability to download modules. As we do updates to the modules, if you click on this, it'll tell you if you have a web connection, it'll tell you if a newer module or version of it has been placed out there. Has a screen to set the size that it's going to appear at. Here's the compliance option. It allows you to show all the all states, or you can select from a list of states if you want. And we're going to be doing the all states today for the compliance. And it also has quiz settings, and there are quizzes that go through this, and it works with the audience response system, and that'll be the last thing I say, is you have audience response systems out there with you now. I know some of you thought they were tasers or channel changers or something. In case you got tired of what you were looking at, you could just punch the button and change the script. It worked, you see. Here's a guy who's already tuning me off, muting the commercials. But actually what this is, this allows us to do an interactive presentation, and at different times we're going to have quizzes, and in fact I'm going to start Emmett's module here with a quiz, and then Emmett will take you through the module. So you have, we have the quizzes, and we also have, as was discussed, the print materials here at the beginning, and you can see we have a whole array of print materials. And if I were to click on one of these, let's just say under the modules, this shows you the modules that currently have materials in. You click on a module, and what it does is it loads the module up here, and this is all printable from here just as a PDF. And if you want to switch language, you can easily switch language just by clicking to Espanol, and you'll see the materials that are available for Espanol, or if you want to see them in Portuguese. And so these are all on the disk and ready to be printed. At this point, I guess we're ready to begin the intro module, and we're not going to really do much in the introduction module because there's not you've already been told pretty much what there is about the program. So what we're going to do is just move straight on into the and you notice here that there's a button that says Interactive and Slideshow. This is two different modes of presenting the program. We're going to actually present it in the interactive mode today. And we start with just a simple introduction, gives you the credits, tells you what the program is. This module is required to be run as you go through the program. And we're just going to move right now into the run-over backovers modules instead of going through this at this time, though. In the run-over backover module, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a quiz, and after we do the quiz, then Emmett will be here. So let's take a look. This is going to be the start of our pre-evaluation quiz, and I'm going to click a question here, and here is your first question. And as you can see here, it says an international training, internal traffic control plan, ITCP, coordinates the flow of workers and equipment. And you're supposed to answer the correct question there. And I apologize for the poor lighting that we have across the screens, but that seems to be out of our control. Let me read the questions. Number 1, on an expressway. 2, on a rural roadway. 3, in a work zone. 4, in a transition area. And 5, I don't know. I don't know is always a reasonable response. So 1 on an expressway, if you think it's number 1. And you'll notice down here at the bottom, if you can see that number, as you're clicking in your numbers, the numbers there are going up. And we can either be in the dark or we can be in the light. So, or we can go back and forth between, and if we do it fast enough, we could actually set up a modulated frequency, I think, that would leave us in a gray area. Okay, we've got 60. I don't know how many respondents we have, but I'm going to wait for just a minute. And then, so if everybody gets their polls in, then what we're going to do is we're going to stop polling. And I wish I knew how many controllers were out there, but I'm just going to give it just another second or two. So I can see we're still going up, though. We've got 70 people in right now. 71. Okay, 72. All right, people with the rapid fingers, let's be done. And we're going to stop right there. Once we're done, we're going to take a look at how your responses flowed out. And, boy, we got some people who actually really seem to know what they're doing here, it appears, right? In a work zone, an internal traffic control plan coordinates the flow of workers and equipment, and we can see the array of the responses that occurred across here. So then we're going to do our second question, and this is our second pre-question, and this is after a TTCD setup is completed, the next step is 1, to test drive the work zone, 3, notify the state DOT, 3, photograph the setup, 4, begin your work, or 5, I don't know. So these are the choices. So after the, pick your best choice here. So after a TTCD setup is completed, the next step is test drive the work zone, 1, 2, notify the state DOT, 3, photograph the setup, 4, begin work, and 5, I don't know. So we're up to 67, and when we get to around the 70 range, or we'll see where we get, then, okay, we're going a little further this time. 75, 76. I think I need to stop right there. So let's just go forward and let's see what it looks like. And we see that we have a little bit of a spread here, a little more of a spread, but 60% of the people in the room are saying that we should test drive the work zone. So let's go on to the next question. And after the TTCDs are set up in compliance with the FHW MUTCD and state and local document modification, any state and local document modification should be made by 1, the crew foreman, any worker who sees a problem, a qualified engineer, 4, the contractor, or 5, I don't know. So whenever you want to start answering that question, you just start putting in our question, the responses. We'll wait till we get up to around 70 and we'll check it. So again, after TTCDs are set up in a compliance with FHWA MUTCD and state local documents, modifications should be made by the crew foreman, any worker who sees a problem, a qualified engineer, the contractor, and 5, I don't know. And we're up to 63, 69, 72, okay, 73, 75, and we will stop right there. And let's see how people showed out here. Qualified engineer up in the 60% range, and we can see that some of the others are spread out across the other areas. And of course, Emmett will be dealing with all these issues as we go along. And so here's our last question in the, oh, that was our last question. Did we do 4 questions?
You skipped number 2.
Oh, did I? Oh, well, I'm a bad guy. That's the way it is. Anyway, what it's doing right now is the program is writing this information to the disk, and we're just going to save it. And once it's saved, the nice thing about this is that after it writes the information to the disk, later on it saves it there, and we can go back and we can use this as a pre-post test and do evaluations, because the controller numbers actually correspond to the file numbers in the file, so it lets us have the ability to pre-post evaluate if we want to. In this case, these were handed out randomly, so there's no way to know which controller belongs to which person, but you can see that could be done. Emmett, are you ready? You're comfortable, okay with this? Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to talk about what are runovers and backovers, which is our runovers, backovers plus module. A minute, hold on. Okay, what are runovers and backovers? Every slide actually starts with a question, and then you'll see the answer. When a worker on foot is struck by a vehicle, and we're talking about the vehicle types, which are motorists, or could be construction vehicles and equipment. So when you're actually teaching the program, you'll actually find that the program asks the question, and then as you go through, it actually answers the question. What are runovers? Are runovers and backovers a problem? They are the main cause of road work deaths. And here are the facts. 63% of road worker deaths are due to runovers and backovers. More than half are from construction equipment and vehicles, especially dump trucks. The remainder are by vehicles, actually passenger vehicles entering the work zone. Intrusions into the workspace, workers in the traffic space. And again, you see the statistics up here where they actually give you the main areas where construction workers are actually being killed in the work zone. Why are so many runovers and backovers? Mainly because roads are more congested. And again, you see the graphics come in where you actually show the congestion. Expedited schedules. Work on existing roads expose workers to traffic. More work zones. And again, the graphics actually show to help your workers understand some of what they actually have to go through. Why are workers killed by motorists? Motorists enter the workspace mainly because they are unable to see workers, surprised by the work zone or the temporary traffic control setup. They ignore the warning signs. They're distracted or impaired. And some of those distractions are what? Cell phones or handheld devices. They're drowsy, drugs, alcohol. And also workers may be speeding where they're actually going too fast to actually make an adjustment. And hopefully you can see where just going through this program can actually help your workers understand some of what they're exposed to and some of what can actually happen to them in the work zone. Why are workers killed by motorists? Workers stray into the traffic spaces. And if you look at the graphics, the graphics actually help you understand workers may be preoccupied by their work. And again, they have, this worker, for instance, has their back to the traffic, not appreciate the risk. If you see the cones are all messed up, not in line, half turned over, have no convenient access to workspace. Now this is a very interesting slide. You look at the work zone over here, and if you look at over here, you find that everything the workers need is completely away from the work zone where they actually have to go through the traffic space to get to it. Again, you see restrooms encircled, food and water, and all of that is away from the work zone. Shade or break areas, staging. How do we prevent runovers by motorists? Use proper temporary traffic control devices, setup and retrieval. Comply with MUTCD and or state local documentation. Inspect and maintain the TCDs. Ensure a qualified engineer makes modifications when necessary. Retrieve, set up a retrieve in the correct order. And wherever you see a 1 or some number outside here, that's actually a demo. And let's show our first demo. And here we're showing the proper installation of temporary traffic control. You actually start from near the curb lane and you actually set up and block the lane as you go along. And here we have removal. Notify supervisors if the devices are not in the proper position, damaged or dirty, not being seen or recognized by motorists. And again, you're getting all of the tips you need to actually help keep your work zone safe. And if you follow the tips and you expose your workers to these tips, you'll have a better likelihood of maintaining the work zone in a proper shape and also maintaining safety for the workers. How do we prevent runovers, backovers? Workers must always be sure to be visible. How to be visible? Wear the appropriate high visibility garments. Here's another demo. And here we have Class 1, Class 2, Class 3. And let me deviate right here. We passed out some information in front of you on increasing work zone workers' visibility through high visibility safety apparel. Let's go through that, and hopefully everyone has this handout right here. Let's go through that. Class 1, for instance, we have Class 1 in our program, but clearly under the new federal highway guidelines, Class 1 is not appropriate in the work zone anymore. So anyone having a Class 1, toss it, can't use it anymore, you may as well get in step. Class 2 is actually required for all workers. Class 3 is recommended. So again, the regulation mandates Class 2, Class 3 is recommended. And very interesting, in here, on the slide, you'll actually see Class 3, examples of Class 3. You actually see the full suit, you actually see a jacket with stripes on the arms, and you actually see a shirt with stripes on the arms. But there is a Class 3 in symbol on the diagram, and the symbol is actually a Class 2 vest with trousers. So you can actually do a Class 2 vest with trousers to actually have a Class 3 ensemble. Now let's turn the page. And what we've given you is we've given you the website address so you can actually download the 2009 MUTCD. Also very important, on the bottom, high visibility apparel is required for all workers within the public right-of-way and exposed to work vehicles and equipment. So in other words, you can be on the street, there can be no traffic, but if you have equipment in the work zone, you still have to have high visibility equipment on all workers. Okay, as of December 31, 2011, right now, this new regulation applies to all federal aid highways. As of this date, they'll apply to all roads and all streets. So be prepared that as of 2011, you actually have to have high-vis apparel on all workers, disregard where they're working, on all roads and all streets, all highways. Okay, not just the federal aid system. Okay, on page 3, we've highlighted some of what we think the important areas. For instance, the standard, which is the highlighted paragraph, clearly says that you have to have Class 2 or Class 3 apparel on all workers. The next paragraph down talks about where you have uniform law enforcement personnel. You actually have to, and they're actually directing traffic or doing something in the work zone that has to do with traffic, they have to wear safety apparel also. And then they have an exception, and the exception is firefighters or emergency responders, where they have to wear their specialized equipment, where they're actually fighting fires and not necessarily dealing with traffic. They can actually wear their emergency equipment that has high visibility, stripes and everything on it. On the next page, and again, you've got the firefighters or other emergency responders working within the right-of-way and engage in emergency operations that directly expose them to flame, fire, heat, and or hazard materials may wear reflective turnout gear that is specified and regulated by other organizations, such as the National Fire Protection Association. So again, if they're directing traffic, they got to wear the same thing as your workers. If they're not directing traffic and they're exposed to heat, fire, whatever, they actually have to wear their specialized equipment, and Federal Highway is saying that it's okay for them to wear that specialized equipment, but it still has to be high-vis. Okay, on the next, where you have guidance on that sheet, again, guidance says for nighttime activity, high-visibility safety apparel is recommended for flaggers. So in other words, it's not mandated, but it, again, nighttime for flaggers is recommended. Okay, but again, please hold on to this, and the most important thing is the kicker date. Remember that beginning December 31st, 2011, high-vis apparel is going to be required on all roads, all streets.
Just wanted to clarify the confusion. The Federal Highway rule is not applicable until the date you said. However, OSHA is citing right now on that standard, so just don't confuse those two dates.
Yeah, and let me say, there's a lot of nice Class 3 stuff that doesn't have the full sleeves. They have a half sleeve on it. So wherever you can use the Class 3 right now, it does give you and your workers an extra level of protection. So again, start investigating what your options are, and where you can use Class 3, please do so. But again, Class 2 is mandated, and Class 1 is trash. Any questions on that? Okay, safety supervisor will determine the type of garments. We've already talked about the FHWA regulation. High-vis garments must be clean and in good condition, and here we have another demo where the demo actually gives you some examples on what condition a garment should be in. And if the garment is completely trashed out, again, don't use it. If the true reflectivity is actually worn off, get rid of the garment and replace them. Must fit. Okay, recommending hard hat, sleeve shirt, and other PPE. How do we prevent runovers and backovers? Workers should stay in protected areas, work inside the barriers, know the proper paths, stay away from traffic lanes, talk with others only in safe areas. So clearly you can see where the program actually gives excellent guidance to your workers. Can an internal traffic control plan help? Yes. And it talks about all of the items that an internal traffic control plan can do. And bottom line, workers must be trained where equipment operations enter and exit the workplace. Now again, we have a couple demos here. In the program, there's actually an internal traffic control plan booklet. And when you actually get here, you see all of the items that will allow you to actually print that booklet. And you can actually pass that booklet out to all of your employees in terms of giving you additional details on how to set up and how to maintain an internal traffic control plan. Here is a sample internal traffic control plan, and again, you can look at this sample, talk about this sample with your workers, with the engineers, and you can actually help design an internal traffic control plan that will work for your operation. But please, take some time, study this, and you'll actually see where it tries to control the flow of traffic, it tries to minimize backing. Backing is where most workers actually get killed by construction vehicles, and gives you guidance in terms of how to properly set up an internal traffic control plan. How can we be safe around equipment? And again, you see the graphics. Near moving, swinging, pinch point vehicles, and approach only after communicating with the operator. And again, a lot of good points there that you should actually pay attention to in terms of maintaining safety around construction equipment. How do we avoid being crushed? Follow basic rules to avoid being crushed by equipment. Basic rules are: and again, we all know these rules, but again, good to be reminded of them and good to remind workers as to how they would stay safe around equipment. What are blind spots? Areas where workers on foot cannot be seen by operators. Never assume the operator sees you. Excellent demo here. NIOSH has actually taken time and actually done blind spot diagrams for a number of pieces of construction equipment. Let's talk about this truck here. What you see is you actually see 3 blind spot diagrams. The first diagram is what the operator sees actually on the ground or at ground level. The next diagram is what the operator actually sees, and you can see this down here, sees roughly at the level of a safety barrel. Okay, and the next level is what the operator actually sees based on the height of a regular average person. So you can clearly see that the operator actually sees different things. Now, for the average worker working in the work zone, it's very difficult for them to understand the concept as to what the operator actually sees and what the operator does not see. This diagram actually helps you convey that whole concept so that they will know the areas where they cannot be seen by equipment. For instance, we'll do the Volvo, and you see a complete different diagram as it relates to the equipment and what the operator can see. Part of it is on some equipment you actually have mirrors. On other equipment the mirrors may not be so effective. But again, and also there's a website here where you can actually go on the NIOSH website and get additional diagrams for additional equipment. If you can't see the operator's face, devices that help eliminate blind spots. There's one more demo here that's very good. Here, you actually have an operator's seat up here. You have the mirrors that the operator actually sees through. Here's a person standing in the back of the equipment. Where the person is standing right now, disregard how close or how far they are from the equipment, and then over here you can actually see the distance from the equipment. Clearly you can see that the operator cannot see the person. As the person starts moving, you see that the person actually comes in view of the operator's mirrors. So another good diagram that actually can show workers what an operator can see from the cab, what they cannot see, and where workers should or should not be standing as it relates to the equipment. So excellent diagram to bring perspective as to blind spots on equipment. Why do we use backup alarms? Okay, again, a good slide to actually talk about the importance of backup alarms and why we use them. Why must we learn about temporary traffic control device use? We must understand use, spacing, maintaining. talks about the different types. These up here will not stop cars. These down here can. Again, you can see a lot of good points in terms of maintaining your workspace and letting workers know the advantages and the disadvantages of the different types of temporary traffic control devices. What is a spotter? Spotter warns operators about nearby workers and hazards. What to do if you're a spotter? Spotters must be trained. What are the best general safety tips? The work zone is hazardous and requires you to be fully alert at all times. And here are the safety tips. Again, all things we know, but again, good stuff to remind your workers, supervisors of on a regular basis, to remind them how to be safe. Now down here we have a couple actually tracks. If you were to want to have an audience of strictly operators and drivers, we've got actually a number of slides that would apply strictly to operators and drivers. Now some of the demos are basically the same. But again, these are specialized slides where you can talk about run-over, back-over hazards. Particularly with drivers and or operators. Okay, I'd like to show you a couple demos with under the contractor responsibility section. Okay, on this demo, we talk about attenuator. We actually have a number of applications where you can review how to properly set up an attenuator. And we also have one demo here. Watch closely. Now the motorist was distracted by using his laptop while driving. Let me show that again. That's not going to go. But anyway, I think that clearly you can see where the value of the program actually gives a lot of information in terms of how to actually keep your workers safe and how to actually have everyone understand. And again, this is a section where you're talking about the contractor responsibilities and issues. Okay, and with that, I'd like to turn it back over to Rod so he can actually go through the questionnaire. Thank you very much. By the way, any questions? Yes.
I'm used to the term TTC, temporary traffic control. When was the internal part of that injected into the terminology, internal traffic control, ITC. This sounds a little bit, but it's the same thing, but I just wanted to know that.
Well, I'm not sure. Since we've actually started working on this program, we've used, an internal traffic control or internal traffic control devices, and we found that it was a good way to actually start the concept of getting contractors to think about, you not only have to manage what goes on outside the work zone, but you actually have to manage what goes on in the work zone, because as one of the slides said, 63% of workers are killed by situations inside the work zone and not necessarily by vehicles from outside the work zone.
There are actually two different terminologies. The temporary traffic control devices is the standard usage and name for what you're doing outside the work zone and directing traffic. The internal traffic control are the system that you might use for regulating your flow of equipment and workers inside the work zone. So it's really two different sets of discussions.
Who takes charge of that? Is it still the chief engineer, for instance, in the State Department of Transportation?
It would be the contractor's responsibility. It's the contractor's responsibility to make sure that the work zone is safe and to make sure that the workers are safe inside the work zone.
Yeah, let me just point out that the internal traffic control plan is not in the MUTCD. It's not a requirement from Federal Highway. This is something that we're recommending to people to try to keep workers inside the work zone safe from construction vehicle traffic, because we recognize this is a serious problem, and we've been working very closely with the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health to look at how to create these, how to develop them, how to make sure that they're used properly. And it seems like it has been helpful, so we're recommending that here.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, now that everybody is totally confused, we're going to go through and talk into the microphone. No, do not talk into it. I am not talking into it. Okay. We're getting there. And I should switch to my reading glasses this time so I can actually see what I'm doing, unlike the last time. Okay. What we're going to do right now is we're going to finish up here with the quiz that was to be done in this segment. And to get there, I'm just going to quickly show you a couple of options here. One of the first things you have is you have a detour button down here. And on the detour button, you can go to any slide you want. So I can simply click the 4 and get to the 4 real quickly. Also, you may have seen that Emmett was moving the mouse around to click some of these areas. You can actually go forward and backward just by hitting the arrow keys on the keypad, so it can be much easier to navigate. Let's go ahead and do the post-quiz on this right now. And this time I'm not going to show the initial responses. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show a summary response at the end. So let's start here, and we get to repeat these all over again. So you can start polling with your devices. Just pick the number that corresponds to what you believe is the correct answer here. On all jobs, the new FHWA regs require what class of high-vis garments? Class 1 is question answer 1, Class 2 or 3. 2, Class 1 or 3. The answer 4 is Class 4 or 5, I don't know. And so once we get a few responses in here, we're up around the 70. If we get to 75, then I will just sort of stop it somewhere in there. Though I know we picked up a couple new people, 77. So, and we'll stop polling right there. And I'm not going to show the response on this question right now. I'm going to save it for the end. And internal traffic control plan coordinates the flow of workers and equipment on an expressway, 1, on a rural roadway, 3, in a work zone, or 4, in a transition area, 5, I don't know. So an ITCP coordinates the flow of workers and equipment on an expressway, on a rural roadway, in a work zone, in a transition area, or I don't know. So we'll stop our polling right there. And we're not going to show the responses, just do the next question. Number 3, after a TTCD setup is completed, the next step is 1, to test drive the work zone, 2, to notify state DOT, state DOT. That's the double state DOT. 3, photograph the setup, or 4, begin work. 5, I don't know. So do we test drive the work zone? Do we notify the state DOT? Do we photograph the setup? Do we begin our work? Or don't we know? I say, let's get this job underway. And so we'll stop polling, and we'll just stop right there. And I'm not going to show the response again. We're going to do this question. After the TTCDs are set up in compliance with FHWA, MUTCD, and state local document modifications, any modification should be made by 1, the crew foreman, 2, any worker who sees a problem, 3, a qualified engineer, 4, the contractor, or 5, I don't know. So is it 1, the crew foreman, 2, any worker who sees a problem, 3, a qualified engineer, 4, the contractor, or 5, I don't know. And we will stop polling. And one more question in this instance, and this is a question important to us. Did you see anything in this module that you will be able to use in your job? 1, very likely. 2, somewhat likely. 3, somewhat unlikely. And 4, very unlikely. So 1, very likely. 2, somewhat likely. 3, somewhat unlikely. Or 4, very unlikely. And let me get up a couple more of the numbers here. And we'll stop the polling. And at this point, it's going to write it to the data, and then after it does the writing of the program, then I will show a summary of the results. And then we'll move on immediately to the next module. So let's go pick our module. That was runovers, backovers, plus. And guess what? Did I make a mistake? Let's find out. I made a mistake. No results to show. It's because I missed that question number 2. Now you don't even know how well you did on the other stuff. But I guess you all know you did well. Let's go on to the TA basics here. This is the module that comes up next, and I'm just going to take you quickly through this module. This module's purpose is to talk about the temporary traffic control zone. And what are the parts of a TTCD? We have a temporary traffic control zone, has 4 parts. Okay, I'll pre-quiz it. You're right. Let's see if I can do a better job of pre-quizzing this one. Okay. The area of normal temporary traffic control zone that lets normal traffic flow resume is 1, and we got some DOT people here. They should have an easy time with all this, right? 1, the termination area. 2, the activity area. 3, the transition area. 4, the advanced warning area. Or 5, I don't know. So what is the area of a temporary traffic control zone that lets normal traffic flow resume? Is it the 1, termination area, 2, the activity area, 3, the transition area, 4, the advanced warning area, or do we not know the answer? And we're up to 70, and I'm going to probably get ready. Okay. I like to see us get to the numbers so we have everybody in there, but and I'm not going to show responses again here. Because we're running a little short on time, so I'm trying to rush it along. A series of devices placed to move traffic out of its normal path is 1, a buffer, 2, a shoulder, 3, a taper, 4, an attenuator, or 5, I don't know. So a series of devices placed to move traffic out of its normal pathway, would you call that 1, a buffer, 2, a shoulder, 3, a taper, 4, an attenuator, or 5, don't know. And we're going to be, that's about where we're going to, okay. We'll stop right there. Let's take our next question. According to the FHWA MUTCD, the space of an advanced warning depends mainly on what? So this is the spacing of the advanced warning depends mainly on what? 1, is it the highway type? 2, is it the speed limit? 3, is it the road surface? 4, is it the weather? Or 5, I don't know. So this is according to the FHW MUTCD. Is it the highway type, the speed limit, the road surface, weather, or I don't know? And we'll stop right there. Next question. According to the FHWA MUTCD, the length of the taper is determined by 2 factors. 1, lane offset plus the highway type plus the road speed, the taper width plus the lane offset, that's 3, the lane offset plus the road speed, or I don't know. So those are our 5 choices. 1, the lane offset plus highway type. The highway type plus the road speed. 3, the taper width plus the lane offset. 4, the lane offset plus the road speed. Or 5, I don't know. And we're up 69, 74, close, 76, okay. Good enough. And now at this point, we're going to write this one, and this time I did all 4 questions, so we'll be in good shape. And I apologize for missing that previous one. Okay, now we'll get back to the presentation of the module. And as we know, a temporary traffic control zone has 4 parts. And by the way, you see the go up here? If I were to click that and we were connected to the internet, this actually would take us to the MUTCD document. So while there is a link on the document that Emmett gave you, we also have several links to the MUTCD directly in the program itself, which, and as I say, we don't have that, but if we did have it, then we would go, in fact, here is, this will actually save some of this on the disk, and it'll show you here a faux connection for it, but I'm not going to take the time to do that. Let's just close this and get back to where we're supposed to be. So what this, now, if you're doing this as an instructor or not, you can see that we actually have 4 areas, starting in the direction of the traffic flow. First, we come to the advanced warning area. What does the advanced warning area do? Tells us what's coming ahead, correct? Agree? Okay. How about the transition area? What's going to be happening in the transition area? That's where we're going to put the cones to be moving the things out of the way. And how about the activity area? What happens in the activity area? That's where the work takes place, right? Okay. And the termination area. This is where we fire everybody we want to get rid of, right? No. Actually, termination area is for a different thing. In this particular module, what you can do is you click on one of these areas, it will highlight the area and a number appears at the bottom. At this point, we can then click on that number and it will take us to a view of that area. What is the advanced warning area? It tells traffic what to expect ahead. That's exactly what it says it's supposed to do. What parts may it include? It's going to include advanced warning signs, and it's going to have 3 basic positions.